Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca and welcome to the 6th episode of my knitting podcast. Today I'm going to jump right in to my finished objects, my works in progress and some fun acquisitions. So let's get started straight away. My first finished object was a gift knit, so I don't have it here with me. But I have shown it recently in podcast episodes and in my latest What I Knit in a Week video. You can see the finished object there, but I do have some photos. I don't love the photos, but I'll insert them anyway. This is my mum's Celeste pullover. So this was a really fun project. It's the second time I've knit the Celeste pullover. Where is my first one? Oh, it's right here. It's right here. That wasn't planned. This is the one I knit for myself at the end of last year. And my mum loved it so much that I said I would make her one. The shape is a little bit different. I cinched the waist in and gave it a really long rib at the bottom. Other than that, it's pretty much to pattern. It is the smallest size, which is an extra small, and I knit it in Drops Lima. So for the collar, on this project, I used a different collar to the main body collar. It is something I did see on Instagram, and yeah, it was a really simple modification, so I did that. The collar is wheat mix. Oh, I've got them all in front of me, so I'm going to give you numbers and everything. So for the neck collar, I used wheat mix color 0206. For the main body color, that bright blue is jeans blue 6235. I then, as the accent colors, used deep taupe, which was left over from my Celeste pullover, and that is colour 5610, Quarry Grey 8465, Blue Indigo 4305, and Sage Green 9029. I did change up my needle sizes a bit on this one because when working on my own Celeste pullover, I noticed a really large difference in gauge between colour work and stockinette, which is really common. A lot of people knit colour work tighter. I am one of them. But I even went up half a needle size from what the pattern says as well, mainly because I wanted to fly through the project. And the finished material was not really loose. So in my opinion, it was worth it. It also made the yoke a little bit longer. So the problem I had with mine was that the yoke, the stitch gauge measured correctly, but the yoke, the length, the row gauge was not long enough. So by going up a needle size, that helped as well. I knit the collar in a 3.5mm needle. I knit the colour work in a 5mm needle, and then I knit the body and the sleeves on a 4.5mm needle. I cast on this project on the 21st of December 2023 and finished it on the 13th of January 2024. I don't have too many notes about this one. I think because I've done it before, it was a really simple piece for me. I highly recommend it as a first or introduction to colour work piece. That is because you are only using 2 colours at once and there are no floats longer than 3 stitches, which is the 2 main things you are looking out for when knitting colour work. I use Drops Lima very often. I think it's a great substitute for Saint-Nesgarn Peer Gynt. I do have some Peer Gynt in my stash, so I will compare them for you now because I've mentioned this before. So Drops Lima is 100 meters and 109 yards per 50 grams. And Peer Gynt is 91 meters. So Peer Gynt is a much heavier yarn and you don't get as much per 50 gram ball, but by fudging your needle size, I really think you can get Gauge with Drops Lima, or at least I did, because both of my projects were on Gauge for stitch count. My first one with the smaller needles was not on Gauge for row count, but the second sample I did on larger needles matched both stitch gauge and row gauge with Drops Lima. Gauge is obviously highly personal, so it might not work for you, but most of those PetiteKnit projects which are calling for PetiteKnit, I can use Drops Lima. And if you really wanted to, you could definitely probably hold Drops Lima with a mohair as well, but there is a difference in the makeup of the yarn. I can't think of the word right now. Drops Lima is 65% wool, 35% alpaca, whereas Sanne's garn is 100% wool. So that is something to take into consideration. Personally, I think there's a common consensus that alpaca is itchier or more itchy than wool. I find PetiteKnit much more irritating compared to Drops Lima. I don't know why that may be. It just might be a tougher yarn, but I don't find the alpaca in this scratchy at all. Excuse my stash behind me. Half of it is on the floor in front of me. I'm procrastinating going through it. It's just kind of overwhelming me a little bit right now, and I keep finding scraps and then working with them, as you will see, so it's kind of a good thing but also a little bit stressful. Anyway, that is my first finished object, and I think I will knit another Celeste pullover probably at the end of this year. You know, I'm not thinking about it right now, I've got a lot of things on the needles, but it is something I will knit again because I think it's timeless. Yeah, I really love the pattern and I love the colour work, and I like being able to be really creative with the colours. I will say that I copied PetiteKnit's original sample, or I tried to colour match them with drops for my pullover, and for my mother's I let her pick the colours, so I haven't really allowed myself to be creative with the colours in that project yet, but hopefully in the future that is something I will do. Next up, in the previous episode I was working on my socks. I'm not sure if I'd knit one of them or both of them back then, but I finished them for a long time now. They are too big. I even went down a needle size, and no I didn't. I knit them using the needle it explained, and they're still too big. And I knit the smallest size, so yeah, they were fine before I blocked them, and then obviously they grew, especially being a lace pattern. Anyway, these are the Oona Socks from 52 Weeks of Socks. They may look a little bit messy off. I went into my local yarn store and asked for sock blockers, and she said, I have sock blockers, I won't sell you them, they're a waste of money. Is that highly? I don't know. I said, okay. She said, lie them out on an ironing board. Don't iron them, but lie them out on an ironing board. So I just laid them out on the floor. And they're fine, you know, they look really good on. They don't look perfect off, but I don't know, maybe I'll buy some sock blockers at some point. These are the Oona Socks from 52 Weeks of Socks, and the pattern is by Borrel. I knit these on 2.25mm needles. I knit the size small, and they are in Filcolana Arwetta Granite, colour 812. I started these on the 6th of January and finished both of them by the 10th of January. So 2 days per sock. I think that's quite impressive, especially as you will know if you've watched this podcast, I do not like knitting socks, or I did not like knitting socks. I was very proud of these. They have a slip stitch. Oh, it was like a moss slip stitch heel. I don't know if you can see them clearly. But yeah, you slip stitch every other stitch. So whereas when I've done slip stitch heels before, I slipped the same stitch every other row. Anyway, really happy with these. They are, the only thing I will say is, and it's nothing to do with the pattern, they're probably a spring sock, maybe even a summer sock. The reason I say that is the lace pattern, like I can feel the breeze through them when I walk around with them. It feels like I've got an open part on the top of my foot, which is quite funny. And it's been quite cold in the UK, like the cold weather has really hit right now. And yeah, they're not warm enough to wear at the moment. But yeah, these are, yeah, my first finished pair of socks. And I really enjoyed the process. I do like knitting lace socks. I think I can get through them. They just make it more tolerable for me. Okay. Filcolana Arwetta was a really nice yarn to work with. I have got more since, and yeah, it's something I really look forward to knitting more socks in. Okay, well then moving on to my final finished object. This was an impulse cast on, which I said I wouldn't do, but I've done several since I said I wouldn't do them. And I was going through my yarn stash and found a lot of Drops Baby Merino in fun colours, but they were very much like a ball or less. So I made this. This is self-drafted. It's really simple. I am holding, okay, how do I explain this? Basically, it's a baby Raglan, first of all. And it is made using 2 strands of Drops Baby Merino. So I have held, oh, I didn't make notes on this one because I knit this up so quickly. I knit this in like 2 days. I will say this is for a dear friend who is expecting a baby. And yeah, I really thought this was very cute. What I call main colour, so this the top half is Drops Baby Merino in the colour 23, which is light beige, held with the same yarn in the off-white colour. I really hope it's off-white and not white, and I have no way to double check. I think it's off-white. Anyway, I only had a tiny bit left of that. Well, not a tiny bit, but I had probably, they come in 50-gram skeins, and I probably used 30 or 25 grams, so probably half a ball, of the white colour. And then for the bottom half, I held this colour again, but instead of the off-white, I switched to this raspberry colour. This is colour 41, Plum. So the light beige carries through the whole jumper, but I marled it with 2 different Drops Baby Merino yarns. And something else I decided to play around with on this is for the Raglan, I don't know if you can see, I did a pearl bump kind of before and after the Raglan, and then moved it over every time just to create this little Raglan detail, which I think is super cute. And that's it. So I didn't realise when making this that Drops Baby Merino is superwash, which is amazing, especially for a child or infant garment. And I'm blown, I do love this yarn. The light beige is left over from my poppy tee / modified jumper, which I held with a mohair. But This dropped baby merino, I'm obsessed. I know it's a really popular yarn. I cannot get over how soft this has washed up. Yeah, I think this is gonna be my go-to yarn for baby garments, also possibly my go-to yarn for other garments. Yeah, it's knit on 4mm needles. The neck was also knit on 4mm needles because I didn't want it to be too tight. That's quite common in baby garments. And I just did a German twisted cast on. I forgot to start my short rows straight away. So I actually did, I don't know if you can see, it's obvious. Only if you're a knitter, you'd know. Here, I did my short rows like here. So there's that. But you'd never notice if you weren't a knitter, and it had the same effect because I hadn't split for sleeves yet. So I'm super excited to give this to my friends. I've known this friend for my whole life, but only recently have we become friends. And yeah, I'm thrilled for them. So, little baby Raglan. I really hope it's big enough. I'm pretty good, like I know babies, and this will definitely fit a newborn, probably, this is probably maybe 6 to 9 months, size-wise, so hopefully they'll get loads of wear out of it, if not straight away when the baby's a little bit bigger. And I very rarely do this, but I did put my little Handmade by Rebecca tag in it, which I sewed in. Let's get on to what I've been working on. There's a lot. Prepare yourself. Just quickly though, I do have other colours in this baby merino yarn left over, and I'm gonna save it because now that I know that it's perfect for baby garments, it's just perfect for gift knitting. So I have some left over of that. And it was so nice to work with. I don't know, just really enjoyed that project. Glad I did it. It gave me something that I'm really proud of to be finished, and to me it's a very perfected piece. And I look forward to making more garments like that because they're so small. I feel like you can really hone in your craft and your skills with them. Anyway, let's talk about the big thing I've been working on. If you watched my What I Knit in a Week video, you will see that I picked up my, oh, it's all tangled, oh, I've got to make sure it doesn't come off the wires. Hold on, this is important, yeah. I picked up my Champagne Cardigan again because I was determined to not let it sit around. My Champagne Cardigan by PetiteKnit, and I have finished the body. I've knit the yoke, I finished the body, and I have just ribbed the bottom, not very much ribbing, maybe like just over an inch and a half, maybe, and done an Italian bind off. And it is cropped, it is short because I could not bear to make it longer. It was just, also I was slightly concerned about the amount of yarn I have left. We'll see about that. But I was just, I'm really enjoying working on this piece, but I'm not enjoying the piece. And that goes both ways. I'm also not enjoying working on the piece, but I'm enjoying certain elements of it being finished. I don't know. It's really, this is a love-hate piece, which is a shame because it's my first cardigan, but also I'm not sure I'm a cardigan knitter. I did not knit the one I'm wearing. This is store-bought. It's actually very hot in here. But yes, finished the body, and I have decided that I'm working on the button band next. This, for me, has been the most enjoyable part. It's not going to be very clear at all. I really hope you could see some of that, but this for me has definitely been the most enjoyable part. The button band is a little big, and I'm going to block the hell out of it, and if not, it'll pass. And I've done 3 buttonholes, just kind of where I thought they go, I tried to make them as equal as possible. It is a V-neck cardigan. I'm about halfway through the button band. And then after I finish the button band, I'll be moving on to the sleeves, which are very large. This is already I've noticed when I've tried it on, it is very oversized and cropped, but maybe it'll be a vibe, we'll see. Yeah, it's knit on 4.5mm needles. I'm knitting the smallest size, which for this project is an extra small. And I'm knitting in drops Lima again. Have I only spoken about drops? No, I had some Arwetta. Yes, I'm dropping, it's drops Lima, colour 3609, red. Sorry, I've got to take this cool. Okay, yes, drops Lima 3609 red, and the pattern is by PetiteKnit. Other than lengths, I am following it exactly to pattern, and I'm very glad I knit the smallest size because I'm most likely off gauge, but other than that, if I'd have gone up to a small, it would have been I think it would have absolutely swamped me. So, yeah, anyway. There's really not much to say. I'm really enjoying the double knitting. I actually watched, instead of watching the video PetiteKnit recommends, I watched the video by Florence Miller for one of her projects. She did a double knit button band video. So yeah, I watched that one and it made it very clear. I've got nothing else to say about this other than I really hope to get the button band finished this weekend, and then hopefully the sleeves done next week and get it off the needles, wash it, block it, see the size, and yeah, try it on for you guys. I'm going to show you now the length. So the top that I've got on today underneath is very cropped. I think it shrunk in the wash at some point. But it hits just below my waist. Obviously, it plans to grow a little bit in blocking. But as you can see, like, it is a really deep armhole. The armhole's about here. And yeah, and I haven't actually tried it on with the button band yet. So I assume it'll button like this. At least it'll fit. I do remember watching videos of people knitting, I think the April cardigan by PetiteKnit, and always saying really how like small it is. So if I'm correct and you want a larger version of something like the April cardigan, you've got the Champagne cardigan. I don't know. I think that if I was to knit another cardigan again, it'd be something held with mohair because it evens out the stitches, and I just think personally it looks more professional, although it would be very warm. But I guess you can wear it open, so that balances it out. That project was cast on back in November 12th to be exact. So yeah, it's been a little while, and it was on ice for a little bit. So hopefully we'll get that done soon, and we'll have something to enjoy. So I have another little surprise, and it's another sock. It looks really bad on camera. It's all like twisted. I'm not sure why. Obviously this one isn't blocked. This one probably won't get blocked because I don't want it to grow too much. But yeah, this is my fuzzy mohair sock. Once it's on, it looks perfect. This is a 60 stitch sock. I kind of maffed it on my own. So it's a 60 stitches. And I did decrease the stitches in the foot a tiny bit. I think I went down to, I decreased to 56 in the foot when doing the gusset decreases. And yeah, I haven't cast on the second one yet, but I need to soon. I really wanted to do a mohair sock, and obviously these are much warmer than the other socks I showed you. These are knit in Filcolana Arwetta, colour 226. I haven't put names, but that's your number. And Drops Kid Silk in the colour 17, which I know is dark rose. They're coming off a lot brighter on screen. They're definitely a darker pink. But yeah, they fit really well, these. I'm glad I went down stitches. They're still large. Again, German twisted cast on. 1x1 rib. Same heel construction as the Oona Socks because I really like it and I was really comfortable with it. I like the crisscross effect it gives. That's those. I'm looking forward to casting on the second one soon and using it as in the round knitting. Although it is short, so a lot of my socks are short. I prefer them like that. Yeah, that'll hopefully be cast on before it gets too warm so I can wear them. This again was something I mentioned in the What I Knit in a Week vlog. I recently cast on the Sonja Sweater by PetiteKnit, and all I've done really is, I think I'd already joined in the round when I was showing you, but I've knit a bit more of the body and then I put the collar on. And I just did a 1x1 rib with with an Italian bind off. I keep getting them mixed up because they give the same effect. But yeah, it's a really simple drop down. It's my second drop down sweater. Drop shoulder sweater. I don't know why I keep saying drop down, shoulder sweater. This was originally knit for my partner Ed, but it's going to be too small, so I'm having it. And it's having a little bit of a break just because, well, it's really easy now because it's plenty of stockinette knitting, so maybe this can be I've got quite a lot of stockinette knitting going on, so. But it will get worked on slowly. I try to give everything a little bit of love each week. What is this made out of? This is more drops, oh my gosh. 3 strands of drops Flora. And 3 colours are 31 sand, 22 white fog and 03 light grey. It is a petite knit pattern. I'm knitting size small. It's off gauge and I'm knitting on 4mm needles to make it very heavy because that is what I wanted. So these are the 3 yarns that I am holding together. And I was expecting it to be more mild, but it's a really, really low contrast mild piece. And if you didn't know, Drops Flora is 65% wool, 35% alpaca. So it is the equivalent to the Drops Lima, but in a fingering weight yarn. Also from that project, I think I ordered way more yarn than I actually needed. So I'm gonna have a lot left over in those colors in Drops Flora. It's quite a nice fingering weight yarn. It's not the nicest. I think held with some mohair at some point, it could be really nice. So I'll give that a go. So nearly there with the whips. I cast on a new sweater again, because I haven't mentioned this in the podcasts. I was working on the Mist Sketch sweater pullover by Florence Miller, and it wasn't working for me. I couldn't get gauge and I just frogged it completely. But the yarn was really nice, so obviously I wanted to use the yarn for something that I would love. I then found the Braemar Sweater by Coco Amore Knitwear, and this is what I've got. It's not very exciting. This is the back panel and the front left yoke, maybe the front right yoke, not sure. But it is this beautiful texture. It's not a waffle stitch, but it kind of looks like a waffle stitch, and it's super squishy and it's just beautiful. Now, so the original pattern has a second colour, a contrast colour in the bottom, and mine will. Originally, I was going to knit the top in this colour, which is Dusty Dove Blue, and that is in both the mohair and the soft silk mohair. And then for the bottom part, I was going to use the Ice Blue mohair and soft silk mohair, which I have from another project that I thought I was going to use the colour work on. But it occurred to me very quickly, and I know that this is correct, that when knitting a garment, or when looking at a garment, the top part of the garment should be lighter than the bottom part of the garment. Same with if you're wearing trousers, your trousers should be darker than your top half. So the ice blue is a lot lighter than the Dusty Dove blue, so I was concerned about it kind of looking odd. So, kind of moving into acquisitions here, I ordered some more knitting for Olive, and I have ordered this dark blue. This is called Blue Whale, and this is called Dusty Blue Whale. I don't know why this one's dusty, this one's not. They are almost exact, but sometimes knitting for Olive do that. And I think that having the dark blue to contrast the bottom is a much better option. So I think that is the plan for this. And then I'll have my ice blue knitting for Olive left over. I think I will probably have, I won't have a jumper quantity, but I will have either like a tea quantity or a, I don't know, maybe a cropped jumper quantity. It goes a lot further than you'd expect, but not so much in this texture. This texture does seem to eat up yarn, I've noticed. I'm knitting the smallest size. It's a drop shoulder, all over texture knit. And yeah, I've knit one of Coco Amore Knitwear's designs before, and this is my second. I was considering knitting the porcelain sweater, or there was one more which I really liked. Oh, I can't remember what it was called. Insert name here. That I almost knit with these two colours that I had, but decided against it. The final whip I will discuss is really simple. It's an Oslo Hat. This is because I really wanted to use this sock yarn. It's wound up now, but you can still, it's a real mess, so I'm going to try and keep it as... The problem I'm having with winding some yarns at the moment, I'm having a real issue with them like just falling apart. This is the Treliz yarn I bought in Paris. It is the colourway Requiem for a Dream. And I am holding it, so I went up to London last week and popped into the wonderful store Beautiful Knitters, and I bought myself some Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the colour Rainy Day to pair with this, because all the grey mohairs I had were too light and I wanted a darker mohair, and this one matches almost perfectly. And I have, it's very subtle, which I like. Oh, not very subtle, but it's subtle, which I really like. It looks really stripy on camera. It's not that stripy in person. But it has this beautiful speckled hat, and this is just my really simple stockinette knitting for when I am out walking. I haven't had much luck with my Oslo hats. I know it's a real... I think once you work out how to do it, it's easy enough to repeat. But yeah, a couple of... I think that's going to be like my 4th or 5th Oslo hat. It's my first one specifically for me, which is really nice. But yes, we'll see. I have cast on the largest size, but I'm knitting it on 3mm needles, so we will see. I'm also using the original Oslo hat pattern for the mohair style. I don't know. I think this one will be better, and I'm gonna keep going until that brim is really wide, because that's a common mistake that I've made. The brim is never wide enough, and usually my Oslo hats are too big. So I've tried this on a few times and it seems to stretch quite a bit, which is nice because a hat should have negative ease. That is it for my whips. Finally, I don't know how long that was, but it felt like a very long time. I also have a few acquisitions to go through. I will start with my Knitting for Olive order. So I mentioned I had to get a few balls of this colour to go with my Braemar sweater. And the one thing I will say is this merino feels different to my ice blue and my dusty dove blue merino. I don't know why. Also, there's so much hair in it, but it's definitely my own. It feels more cottony. I don't know why. I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure that's just how it is. So this beautiful colour, this dusty blue whale and this blue whale. That's my first acquisition. Then I have mentioned in the past that my big goal for this year is to knit a big cabled jumper, and I'm really keen on the idea of the Creabea Rebecca Clowes Lauder pullover jumper, which also she is releasing in the vest, and in the future I think she's planning on doing a cardigan. I missed the test call for this. I was considering applying and it went up in the evening, and by the time I woke up in the morning, it was full. So she had loads of test applicants for it. So that's okay. I'm going to have, you know, I can be patient, and I'm going to wait for the pattern to come out. And yeah, so then I had to decide, you know, what colour I wanted to do it in. Now, she's mentioned a lot of the combinations that can be used for this pullover. I think her original sample is in Drops Daisy, which is a DK weight yarn. I picked up some Knitting for Olive heavy merino and soft silk mohair, and because I really want to do a mohair version. I don't know why, I really enjoy using mohair. She did mention that the cables don't pop as much, but I just think all over the texture, not the texture, the stitch definition, the stitch like uniformity would look a lot better with mohair. So that's what I've decided. These are colours, these are colours Ballerina. Now, I know I wanted a pale, it's going to be very, very exposed in here, but it is a very pale, very delicate pink. I knew I wanted a light colour because I wanted my cables to pop, and I do think they pop more in a light colour. I wanted a neutral because I want to be able to wear this often, and I didn't want to go with cream because I just did my Clint Classic pullover in cream, so I wanted something slightly different. And basically I gave myself the options of doing it in a pale pink or a pale grey. I do have some pale grey yarn in my stash. I have definitely enough, but that is Drops Big Merino, which is a DK weight merino yarn, and Drops Kid Silk, both in like a very light grey. And yeah, so it's between that, but I think it's definitely, if I can make gauge when all the information comes out with these two, I think that would be really nice. So I got a jumper quantity of those. I'm interested to use the heavy merino because I picked it up in, I didn't pick it up, I felt it in Copenhagen, and compared to the merino I didn't like it, but I didn't want to buy double the amount of merino to hold it. I didn't want to hold the merino double, so I thought let's try the heavy merino and let's get my verdict on it, and let's not take my first opinion as my final opinion, because as we know, I like to change my mind. But yeah, this beautiful colour. I don't know if it's my colour. It could look quite nice with a tan as well, but it's just, I think it's beautiful, and I don't have anything this colour. Maybe that's a sign that it's not my colour, but yeah, that's my second acquisition. My final acquisition from Knitting for Olive. My final acquisition was an order off Etsy. This order is from a dyer called Boscastle Yarns, and there was quite a large sale on her stuff on Etsy, so of course I jumped on the opportunity of that. The colours that she had on there, they were slightly limited right now, but I think because of the sale she was kind of doing a de-stash of all the Christmas colours, and for for her to be able to bring out a new collection. I am so blown away by these yarns, and I don't know, sometimes I don't know whether to talk about cost on here, and I know it's such an odd, not an odd thing, but I know a lot of people do and a lot of people don't. I will on these, and I don't want it to come across as if I only buy yarn from small businesses if it's on sale, but quite often I'm a bargain hunter and I look for sales, and there were sales, so I think you'll be slightly blown away at the, oh no, it's falling apart, at the prices I got these yarns for. Okay, let's start with the Christmas Chaos. So I got two skeins here. I'll just show you one. Actually, they're very slightly different. So why not show you both? From my knowledge, this was the 2023 Christmas colorway from Boscastle Yarn. This is a sock yarn, it's a 4-ply, 75% merino, 25% nylon. You get 425 meters per 100 grams. And it's a very pale blue base with lots of, it's honestly rainbow, but blue leaning rainbow, not pink leaning rainbow, I don't know. It's so beautiful. I paid, I think, £12.50 per 100 grams for these, which compared to your average £20 for 100 grams of hand-dyed yarn in the UK, or on Etsy at least, I think that's pretty impressive. So I got 200 grams of that, and I'm going to make a camisole number 9 out of these at some point. Yeah, something like that. Something really colourful for summer. It's very loud. If you're not that type of person, you know, I totally understand. But yeah, I'm really interested as well to look at pooling methods on how to, you know, prevent certain pooling in these yarns. First purchase, really loved that. Then on sale was this sock set. So this is a 100 gram skein plus a 20 gram skein. The pink is a little bright in my opinion, but I'm sure I can find something to do with it. I will probably just use, if it's going to be socks, I'd probably just use the main skein. But this is called Autumn Pizzazz. Really beautiful yarn. It's got these deep, it's very colourful, but it's very muted with like browns and reds and purples and blues and oranges. Yeah, I'm very excited for that. And then, out of the absolute kindness of the dyers, oh, what's her name? I know her name. I don't want to get it wrong, but she did pop her name on the note. Out of the absolute kindness of her heart, she gifted me this skein, this mini skein, which is so cute. I love the colour. It's like a really, really bright version of my two 50 gram skeins over there. And yeah, just another sock mini, and I love my minis. As you can tell, I don't use them, I just collect my minis. No, they will get used at some point, but yeah, really, that was very sweet, and she didn't have to do that. So yeah, that was my Boscastle yarn haul. I will be buying from this dyer again because obviously I haven't used the yarn yet, but from what I can see, the quality looks really good. And the colours are really well done, in my opinion. So really happy with those. I did forget one more acquisition. While I was up in London visiting beautiful knitters, I had a good look in their discount bin, which I always do. As I mentioned, I'm sure you know, I love a discount. Love a bargain. They had some Sunday. Sun Is Gone Sunday in the discount bucket, and this is a PetiteKnit colorway, and this is colour, oh, it doesn't have a name. I think I googled it. I think it's called Camel. It's colour 2542. I got 3 50-gram balls of this because that is all there was. That might seem like an odd amount, but I am sure I can get a camisole out of that quantity. So I'm gonna look for a fun camisole to do. I have worked with Sunday before. I don't love it, or I didn't love it. Oh, sorry, I'm really itchy today. I didn't love it. I hope that using a much smaller needle, I will enjoy using it. Yeah, really excited. This colour is, it might not look it on camera, it is quite similar to my skin tone, especially when I get a bit of colour in the warmer months. I don't care if people think I'm naked. No, I think it's awesome. I think it's really, yeah, I think that it'll be a really good basic camisole. I actually have some leftover Sunday in my stash. At least this ball, and I weighed this, and this is pretty much, I think this is like 48 grams. So I don't know where the rest of that ball has gone, because I can't imagine me using, maybe I needed it to cast off. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they go. Maybe they'd work. I don't know. Maybe. So that is it. That is all my acquisitions, all my whips, and my finished objects since the last podcast. I would really, really like to get into sewing. My Instagram feed has been flooded with people showing you how to get more confident with sewing. I bought some really beautiful material to make myself a project bag from a YouTube tutorial, and I just never got round to it. So I'd be really keen to get started on that. But that'll be probably a spur of the moment thing I start doing. And yeah, I hope to see you guys next time. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like. It does wonders for the algorithm. And if you want to keep updated with all my other knitting podcasts and various crafty videos that I'm working on, hit that subscribe button. I hope to see you all in the near future, and in the meantime, I wish you plenty of wonderful knitting. Bye guys.